Now this one looks different than the other ones we've done before. These vertical lines mean absolute value. So absolute value is how many units are you away from 0. So if I were to look at the number line, I have 0 in the middle, 1, 2, 3. On the left side you would have -1, -2, -3. If I want to know the absolute value of 2, how many units am I away from 0? If I look here, 1, 2, so I'm 2 units away. If I look at absolute value of -2, I'm also 1, 2 away from 0. So what ends up happening is you basically end up just making whatever is inside positive. So absolute value of 2 is 2, and absolute value of -2 is also 2. So here, I want to know the absolute value of x equals 10. What values of x, when you take the absolute value of it, give you 10? So we know absolute value of 10 gives you 10, and the absolute value of -10 also gives you 10. So our two answers are 10, x equals 10, and x equals -10. Okay, so that's how you solve an equation using absolute value. So let's take it a little bit farther. All right, so this one's saying -3 times the absolute value of x equals 15. So like in the other problems, we want to isolate the x value. So here we want to isolate the absolute value of x. So that's -3 times the absolute value of x. So I'm going to divide by -3. So it leaves the absolute value of x equals -5. Remember what we said, we basically take the positive of this, what's inside the absolute value, as the answer. So is there a way where I can take the absolute value of x and give you -5? No. So this is basically no solution, because there's no value of x where that absolute value of it will give you -5. Now if the problem was this, I had -15 here. If I divide that by -3, that gives me absolute value of x equals 5. And then we could say that x equals 5 and x equals -5. So two answers, 5 and -5. All right, so one step farther than that, we have more than one term inside the absolute value. We have absolute value of x plus 3 equals 7. So if we know the rules from before, what's inside the absolute value could equal 7 or -7. Now, both those would work out. So if I did that, x plus 3 equals 7, and x plus 3 equal -7, those are two scenarios where those would both work out inside here. If this equaled +7 or this equaled -7, it would work out. So if I subtract 3 here from both sides, that give me x equals 4. If I were to subtract 3 from both sides here, x would equal -10. All right, so let's try both of those out. That's the value of 4 plus 3 equals 7. Okay, absolute value of 4 plus 3 is 7. And absolute value of 7 is 7, so that works out. Give that little check mark there. Here, if I insert negative 10 plus 3, absolute value of negative 10 plus 3 equals 7. Negative 10 plus 3 is negative 7. And then the absolute value of negative 7 is 7. So that works out. So in this case, when we have absolute value, we have two answers, almost kind of like the square, the problems with the quadratic or even square. So these have two answers.